Welcome Strategy Battle Gamers to another GBHL YouTube video. You hear your host GBHL Damian, and this is my hobby vlog number 53. Oh yes, these are dangerously close to becoming regular. So yeah, here we are in my fourth hobby vlog, I think, since the hopeful rebirth of this in this year. And today I'm going to be carrying on with the projects that you've been seeing over the last couple of weeks. So 2 hobby vlogs ago, you saw that I'd cleaned up all my Morannon Orcs and my Morannon Orc heroes over Christmas, and then last week in my sort of plan for the plan for 2020, I said that they were going to be the thing I did next, and that is indeed what we're going to be getting on with throughout the course of this hobby vlog. So to give you an idea, we're going back in time, really, in a way. You know, you will have watched hobby vlog 2. Sorry, you would watch hobby vlog 52. Oh, I get so confused. Probably around the, I don't know, 17th of January, I think it will be up. And for me, it's currently the 8th of January, so we've gone back in time. And I'm going to kind of catch up with where my Morannons are over the next 2 weeks. I think I said that I thought all these Morannon warriors and heroes would take me about 3 weeks, and this hobby vlog is basically going to be capturing those 3 weeks. Some years ago I did a hobby vlog that was a stage by stage painting of my Mirkwood elves, and that one was kind of really popular. It was also quite helpful for me to be able to go back on that and look at the colour scheme, kind of when I did my Palace Guard Captain last year. And I want to do a similar thing like that for my Morannon Orcs. So I did the first sort of 25 or so Morannon Orcs this time last year, and I'm going to finish them off now. And I made a really detailed painting guide that I sent to myself as an email, and I'm going to basically use that to recapture the colour scheme, but I'm going to document it via video this time, so I've got that, and hopefully other people might find it useful. So since you saw the models in the last vlog, where they'd all been assembled, they'd all been sprayed black, and then they'd all been sprayed lead belcher to prime them, I have base coated them all. So I started work on them last night and basically got all the base colours down, and that's where they currently are. So I'm going to swing the camera over to the desk now and sort of show you how they look in this current state, and then what I'll be doing is coming back after, I think there's about 4 stages that I kind of paint these Morannon Orcs in, and I'm going to be coming back after each stage and showing you how they look and going through the colours that I've used to get them to that point, and hopefully that'll be useful. The other thing the only thing I'm unsure of is whether or not this will include the heroes. So this will either be a stage by stage painting of the warriors that then includes the 6 Morannon Orc heroes, or it will be a stage by stage of the warriors to get them up to completely finished, and then I'll finish there and I'll focus on the 6 heroes next week. I'm kind of leaning towards that one, to be honest, so that we can guarantee another vlog. But we'll have to wait and see, and I don't know what's going to happen on that, because the answer to that will be in about a week's time for me, or 2 weeks time. The answer to that for you will be in about 10 minutes time, I suppose. Very, very crazy part of, it's just the odd way, use some words, the odd timeline of kind of filming these videos. But there we go. I hope you enjoy this. It's going to be a kind of vlog talking through how I paint my Morannon Orcs, and hopefully achieving that goal of having all my Morannons finished by the end of January. Wish me luck. So here they are. Here are my 13 Morannon Orc warriors and my 6 Morannon Orc heroes along the back, all having had their base coats stuck down. I'm going to start just by showing you this Morannon Orc, who's completely finished. He's one of my older ones I did last year. Hopefully he's coming up alright. So this is the finished effect, which I'm really happy with. They kind of have this fairly brightish red cloth, brown straps around the various armour, this edge highlighted armour, and then, you know, that's pretty much it really. We paint the hair in, obviously, and that sort of thing. And I go for a green tinge to their skin. So that's the finished result. That's what I'm trying to match by catching up on my previous painting guide. So let's have a look. As I mentioned, these ones are in here more to be illustrative, but they were sprayed Abaddon Black or Chaos Black, whatever the spray paint currently is. Then they were sprayed with lead belcher, which is a great way of saving time for doing armour. Gives the whole model a silver coating. And then I basically only use 3 colours. So all of the cloth and all the straps are painted with Doomball Brown. All of the skin, which is basically just hands and faces, is painted Castellan Green. And all of the shields, spear shafts, the kind of fluffy ruffs around the neck, and the hair is painted in Rhinox hide. And that really is it. I've got one example here, and here he is with the base coats done. So you can see he's been sprayed silver, so you can still see all that silver through there. All his robes down here on the legs, and it includes, see how close we can get in here, it includes the straps. The straps will be a very different colour by the time they're finished, but they're just painted Doomball Brown as well for ease. Hopefully his head's coming up there. You can see the Castellan Green head and the black, the kind of Rhinox hide ruff around his neck. The shield, the spear shaft, and the hair, and that is really all there is to it. It doesn't take very long to do them all like this. I generally speaking go and touch up the lead belcher just a bit. I'm not too finicky about it because the wash is going to cover all manner of sins, but generally speaking on most of these models I end up with a bit of paint everywhere. I'll show you another one. You kind of get a few blobs of paint on various bits. And so I'll just go back and touch that up before I apply the wash. The fun thing about Morannons is you do always have to make a judgment call on what's metal and what's fabric. You can paint either way, and I tend to go for slightly more metal, but there are some cases, is it one of these guys, where you could certainly argue, I think, that this bit under here could be cloth under a metal backplate, but I tend to go like more armour. And if in doubt, I just looked back at how I painted the models last year and just kind of replicated that. So there we go. That's basically it. The base coats. I have, however, to save myself the bother of kind of setting all this up twice, I have also taken one model to the next stage, which is the shade. And what I'm going to now do is cover the entire model in Agrax Earthshade to help blend all the colours together and shade everything. And then, whilst that is still wet, I just use the same brush, I don't bother about washing it, and I take Nuln oil and I dab Nuln oil onto the armour. So that should mean that the armour kind of ends up a bit blacker. Still looks a bit dirty and muddy, but you get a kind of mixed blacky brown effect on the armour. And this is the model I advanced to that stage. So hopefully you'll now see that he should look already significantly better than the previous one. Obviously it looks a bit darker, but suddenly it all looks a hell of a lot neater. And there he goes. You can see the shading, the kind of skin starts to pop a little bit, the shield gets shaded, and hopefully you can see that the armour has a slightly darker, dingier look than the red, just from dabbing it with some black. So there we go. So that's the next stage basically, which is really, really quick. It doesn't take long. It's probably going to take about half an hour to chuck the wash over all of these guys. But they'll then get to this point. I remember for the longest time when I was painting my Morannons last year, I thought I might leave the armour like this. I was kind of in a rush to paint them last year, and I actually thought, you know what, the armour looks pretty good. It's not bad. But in the end, I did decide to throw caution to the wind, and I edge highlighted the lot of it, which obviously took a hell of a long time to suddenly do. Sorry, it's a bit dark in here at the moment. But I kind of painted everything around it up right to the end, and I was like, oh, I could finish the armour and leave the armour like that. And I went, nope. So I did a whole edge highlight on every part of it, and then another shading layer on the armour, which I'm really glad I did. And that changes the armour looking like that to looking like that, which I definitely think is worth it in the long run. Can I focus me? So there we go, there's our base coats and our shades to our finished product. We've got a lot of layers to go now. I do a lot of work on these actually. I think I end up doing about 3 layers on almost every part of the model, so they're quite in depth for warriors. But I do enjoy them, and I've kind of settled on this adage fairly recently that I only paint models once, and so rather than rushing them to get them ready for an event and speeding up, I'd rather make sure I get them right and I'm happy with them. So that's the plan. So there we go. We have base coats. I've actually got 2 of the same model here, so we could You can see the difference between them. But I have base coats and shading will be now be done. And what I will then do is come back probably in a few days now, after I've done a kind of at least one level of highlights on every part of the model. I will see you then. So here we are. It is a couple of evenings later and I've made some progress. So as you'll hopefully learn throughout the course of this video, the way I paint my Morannon Orcs is that you saw them when they were base coated, then you saw the one model who had been shaded with the agrax all over and then dabbed with the null on the armour. So I do that to all of them, and then once that's complete I basically give them a series of 3 layers. So almost every part of the model gets 3 highlight layers on it. So it's fairly in depth, particularly for warriors, but it creates this effect that I was really pleased with last year. So I'm going to carry it through for these ones. And I've now finished the first stage. So talk you through what happens. We start with Baneblade Brown, and that gets dry brushed across all the shields. I'll show you all on one complete model when it's done. So that all the shield, the wood area, gets dry brushed with Baneblade Brown. Then all the cloth gets painted with Wazdaka Red. All the spear shafts and weapon shafts get highlighted with Dryad Bark. The skin gets highlighted with Deathworld Forest. All the little straps holding the armour on and belts and things get highlighted with Gorthor Brown. The hair gets highlighted with Storm Vermin Fur. The eyes get painted in with Talon Sand, so they get a kind of yellow hue to them. And then the pupils on the eyes get painted in with Abaddon Black. And I will show you that on one model here now. So here he is. Obviously I have to choose this one because everyone loves him. So let's firstly try and focus on the face. You can hopefully see that the eyes have been painted in, but they're probably a bit big and they're a bit messy. And guess what, everyone? That's alright. It doesn't matter if that happens there. There you go, that's a pretty good angle, because it will be tidied up in the next stages of highlights. But you can now see, if we come around onto his hand possibly. I've managed to pick a model, that's outstanding. I've picked a model whose hand hasn't been highlighted. I've missed him at that stage. Alright, let's swap you out. Let's see, did I miss this guy's hand? That looks a bit better. You can see hopefully the fingers have been picked out there with Deathworld Forest, and the highlights on the face there, again with his eyes, and highlights on the hand there. If we turn him around, there's all the cloth being painted Wazdaka Red, and all those straps have been painted Gorthor Brown. The spear shafts, let's grab one of these guys. So the spear shaft here, it's a bit of a bent plastic spear, has been painted Dryad Bark. And the hair has been painted in with Storm Vermin Fur, and then the eyes have been painted in, and you can already see that they look they should look kind of significantly better to how they did in the last one. There's obviously still a long way to go though, but yeah, that is what I refer to as the first stage being complete. So I'm always kind of like celebrating at this point, going, hey, we're nearly there. And as I think I pointed out, that my plan was, all the heroes at the back have basically been finished to the same point at the moment. So I'm not particularly painting them any more complicated as heroes for the minute. I'm getting them to the same level as the warriors. I'm occasionally chucking on a few different colours, because the drummer needs some different colours for his drum, and the shaman's got a kind of black cape, and the captain's holding a severed head and those sort of things. So I'm occasionally putting some extra colour highlights in for those, but for the most part they're just following the warriors scheme. So there we go, that's the first stage complete. It tends to take quite a while, particularly the Wazdaka Red painting all over, and I think my memory is that the stages now get quicker. So again, I hope to be back within at least a couple of evenings with the second stage finished, and we will pick up from there. And I am back with good progress. It is a couple of days later, which I'm really happy about, and I've finished what I consider to be stage 2. So I'll talk you through that and show you on a model and see how we're getting on. So first things first, on stage 2, we kind of water down some Dryad Bark, and we put that as a wash over the shields to kind of dull them down a bit. Then I highlight all the cloth with Deathclaw Brown, so it tends to go quite pale and quite orangey. I highlight all the skin with Nurgling Green. I highlight all the straps with Karak Stone, so again they get much lighter, and I highlight all the hair with Rakarth Flesh. So basically every stage here gets very light, and I think you'll see a fairly significant difference in the model. So if I pick this guy up, let's go and have a look at him. So you can hopefully see there
that his shield is now kind of a bit darker. You can still see the kind of dry brushed highlights through it, but it's kind of significantly darker now. The skin now has the other Nurgling green highlight. There's still 2 layers to go on the skin, but for the first time it starts to pop a bit. I'll show you his hand around here. Get an idea there. There's a very, very pale green, which will be eventually shaded down, but they'll be the kind of top highlights. The cloth is this Deathclaw brown, so as you can see now, it will look predominantly quite orange to do these top highlights, but again that's going to get shaded down again in the next stage. The straps on the legs here and behind the arms there, and some of the models have got belts along here. You can see the straps in there in front of the spear. Bit of a plays nice. There we go. I've been done with cracked stone to make them pop quite nicely, and then the same with the hair. So the hair has been done with Rakarth flesh to lighten it up, and again that gets shaded down. So this is kind of the way I've started painting a fair few models now that I will do. I used to traditionally kind of go base shade, highlight, and then highlight lighter, whereas now the highlight, the top highlight, is almost always the penultimate layer, and my final layer is a shading layer that kind of dulls it down a bit. So I've got him, let's just show you a couple of others at random. Don't know if I'm necessarily going to pick up the ones that have come out best, but you get the idea of how they're looking. It's kind of cool. They start to look, they're starting to look kind of neat at this point, I think. I always think. Maybe one more. This guy's got quite a cool hairdo. So you got that guy there. So yeah. So that is the second stage of highlights, all completed. So really pleased with my progress there, and now with tedious predictability we move on to the third stage of highlights, which is the final stage actually. So basically everywhere is going to get at least one more layer. There's still 2 to go on the skin, but everywhere else gets about 1 more layer, and I also do the soul destroying job of edge highlighting the armour, which always takes ages. So hopefully, again, I'm making good progress this week, so I'd hope to be back within a couple of days filming them complete, but we'll have to see. It's currently Tuesday evening, and I've actually only got 3 evenings before I'm kind of away for the weekend, so I actually think in reality the next clip might well be in almost a week's time when I've got back from the weekend and finished the bases and all. So who knows, we'll have to see if I pop in before they're completely finished, but it might be that next time you see them in a few seconds they're all completely finished. But yeah, overall pretty happy. Oh, and I didn't say as well, but just it's worth pointing out I'm just doing the same as I have in the past with the heroes. So if I just pop in on Goroth, you'll see that Goroth isn't necessarily looking any better than any of the other warriors. I'm actually quite pleased with how Goroth's coming along, to be honest. But he's at exactly the same stage as all the warriors. I'm obviously doing slightly different skin tones on some of the heroes, but I'm not doing anything different on these because they're heroes. I'm bringing them up to the same level, and then as I think I mentioned in the past, I'm going to spend a bit of time on each one individually. So there we go. I'll give you a little look at Zagdush's face as well, how he's coming along. Zagdush is very, very heavily cloth. I'm quite pleased with him already though. That one, I think he looks quite cool. It's a lot of cloth, so he looks very orangey, but he won't at the end, he'll look quite red. So there we go. Pleased with that. Second stage done, making good progress, and as you'll see in a kind of variety of other videos that are coming out before this and after this, I'm also working on a bunch of other little bits and bobs for different different videos at the same time. So I'm feeling very good, feeling very positive. So there we go. I'll see you soon. And I'm back. It is a couple of days later, and they are getting very close, dangerously close to being finished. We've completed the third stage of highlights. So I'll just quickly run through with the paints what I do. So the skin has been, I call it tidied up in my notes. I basically mix these together to make a dark brown, dried bark and colour brown green, sorry, a dark green. And then I basically almost paint in shading to kind of touch up the highlights. So there's a kind of darker green applied to tidy up the skin. Then I actually do another layer to the skin, which is this XV88. What I do is I really water this down, and then I basically kind of patch, kind of just dab bits of runny brown all over the skin. And what I find that does is it turns it down. The top highlight of the skin in the previous layer, if you remember, was very, very light. It was that kind of very, very pale green. And what this does is just mute it down and give a kind of, I think, more natural looking varied skin tone. So that finishes the skin. I then shade the hair and the ruffs with Steel Lead and Drab, and then I highlight the hair and the ruffs with Rakaf Flesh, and that finishes the hair. And then I also put a big blob of cracked stone in the mouths to kind of represent the teeth and that sort of thing. And then I kind of shade the mouths with these two. So I'll put, it normally starts with Rakeland Flesh Shade in the middle, and then I tend to, some of them seem to have kind of bigger lips, and I might put a bit of Carabao Crimson around the lips, so just to make a kind of reddy glow to the mouth. And that leads to my finished orcs, which look something like this. See how close we can get and see what you can see. So hopefully you can now see the skin. It's going to be better again if I don't have my hand. I think it probably is, isn't it? There we go. Hopefully you can see the skin now has a kind of brown hue to it as well. It's not quite as light. If we go in and have a look at the guy's face, you know, they're far from the best faces I'll ever do, obviously, but they are just warriors. They don't necessarily need to. Come on, in you come. What happens if we do this? Is that going to help? You know, they look fine for warriors from a distance. And can you see the kind of browns coming through there in the skin, hopefully? The hair, you can see it there on the back. I think I might be getting a bit too much sunlight. Just bear with me. Let's just see if that looks a bit better. Potentially better. Hopefully, yeah, you can see some browns in the flesh colour there. You can see the mouth with a bit of red in it. As we put around here, you can hopefully see the differences in the hair with the kind of brown shading and the car flesh highlights. Let's grab another. Try and grab the ones with the faces and the ruffs so you can see it best. So you get this sort of thing. I really don't agonise over the faces with the warriors. You know, it's about how they look from a distance. I'd never let that guy's kind of eyes get away with that for a hero, but I think for a warrior it looks alright, and you can hopefully see that the brown kind of adds this, hopefully just looks a whole lot more natural. Just trying to figure out which one of these gives you the best focus on it. Is it that? That's not bad. So we can see that sort of thing, and that's the kind of potentially finished version of it. The heroes obviously are up to the same level but aren't finished, as I've been saying before. Going to push them further next week. There's this guy. Hopefully you can see that adding that dark green in and then adding the brown in, I always think does quite a good job of bringing the faces to life a bit. Quite happy with that. And finally I'll show you everyone's favourite orc. See how his face works there. He's one of the ones that has those kind of slightly bigger lips. I think sometimes justifies a little extra work on the face. There's the hair effect there. So there we go. So that could well be them finished. I remember back in February last year getting to this point and thinking, God, they're finished, I've done them. And then looking at them carefully and thinking, should I do the armour? Because if you remember, at the moment all this armour is Leadbelcher covered in Agrax Earthshade. We haven't done any highlights to the armour. And I went back and forwards for ages thinking, can I be bothered? And if I show you one of my completed ones from last year here, I did do highlights on his armour. Now it's going to be really hard, particularly on this camera, to show you the difference this makes, but what this one's had done to it, it's had all those colours I've just talked about painted on, and then the armour has been edge highlighted in Leadbelcher again, and then shaded back with Agrax Earthshade, and I've done it to one model. So I've done it to this one. So this he's gone. This model has had his armour edge highlighted and then shaded with Agrax Earthshade, and it takes a long time. It's probably the longest single colour in the entire process, but I think it's worth it. I'm going to try and show you the difference, and I'm almost certain you won't be able to see it. But if we take exactly the same model, put them side by side, you can hopefully see already that this guy's armour the contrast should essentially be higher. There should be brighter bits and darker bits on this guy's armour. And it's very, very hard to show you on the camera, but I promise, I think in person it's worth doing. Can you hopefully see the breastplate kind of shows it there? This guy looks kind of like almost all the same silver, whereas this guy looks like he's got a slightly more difference between the high areas and the low areas. So it does take a long time. You go around the edge highlight every bit, and then you go around with Agrax Earthshade and you kind of paint the Agrax Earthshade into the recesses. But I decided to do it on my last set of Morannons, and so I really do have to do it on these ones so they match. I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't, but that's sort of thing that I'm kind of happy doing to try and make them pop a bit. And so that's what I will be doing. So as I said, I finished it on one to kind of show you the difference. And now I need to do that to my, I'm going to do it to everything, so I'm doing it to Warriors and I'm doing it to the Heroes. And then once I've shaded them, that will be it. They will be done. So that's it basically. So my hope is that the next time you see them, which will hopefully be in a couple of days, it shouldn't be too long from this point out. To give you some idea, that's currently the 21st of January, so we'll see how we did. I'm really struggling to remember, but I feel like I started these on the 10th of January, so we're going for about 11 days, and I was saying that I hoped the Warriors would be done in 2 weeks, so I think I'm on course for that. But my hope is that the next time you see them, the 13 Warriors will be completely finished, as in bases and everything. We'll be able to show you the kind of finished models and sign off this hobby vlog. But there we go. So that's how far I've got. Happy with the progress again, and hopefully we'll be seeing you for one more clip before too long. And I am delighted to say that they are finished. So I think when you last saw them, I was just about to embark on the edge highlighting and shading of the armour, the final stage, and so I've now completed that. It is a long stage. It took about, I think, I'm not sure if I said it took about sort of 10, somewhere between 15-20 minutes per model, like 10 minutes for the edge highlight and 10 minutes for shading, but they are finished. So I think, seeing as you haven't seen them all in a while, we'll have a quick run through. So this is the finished effect, which hopefully you agree does look significantly better. Oh, he's gone, isn't he? Than without doing the edge highlighting. Everyone's favourite orc. I just wanna be loved. Their faces are all alright. I don't worry too much about Warriors' faces, because this is the closest up anyone's ever going to get to them. The kind of highlights are in there, so they pop from a distance, but I don't really care if their eyes are a bit iffy. In the same way, people don't examine them in the same way they do for Heroes. Really, really happy with these guys. I think I've matched the scheme, the original scheme, my other orcs well. So well done, past Damian, for leaving such a sort of detailed email. And they come out well. There's this dude. I like this one. It's cool. Really, really satisfying from my point of view to have all 36 of these painted up now, given that when I bought the Pelena box set, or whenever it was, a year and a half ago, I had absolutely zero interest in the Morannon army whatsoever. I had no plans to paint these up anytime soon. Great to get them all done and have a whole brand new army ready to go. Also now means I've got the correct number of Morannons to do the Gondor at War scenarios, which was the initial motivation for this. Almost all those scenarios involving Morannons require 36 Morannons, so good to have them ready to go. Oh, it's always satisfying, isn't it, when you see the end of a project and they're all finished. This dude is always weird. Do you show him from this side or do you show him from this side? Funky little pose. Really happy, really pleased with the red. Whenever I do get around to my Dale, I think I'm going to do the red in the same way as these, because I think it creates a very nice, nice deep, natural looking red, which I'm quite fond of. And the last one is another one of my favourites, this guy. There's a lot of character in that face, particularly for a warrior. So there we go. My 13 last Morannons are complete, and with that is the end of my stage by stage Morannon hobby vlog. So I'll pop back over to the sofa and sign off.
So, to misquote the Joker, there we go. That is them finished at long last. It is the 31st of January. I think I started painting those Morannon Orcs on the 7th of January, so we're looking at about 24 days, so 3.5 weeks. If you scroll back, presumably I think to the start of this video, I think I said that I wanted all of them, including the heroes, to be done in 3 weeks. So that didn't quite happen. I haven't finished the heroes, they need about another week's work, and I'm already like half a week over. But it's worth noting for my own sanity, I did take that kind of entirely unnecessary and potentially unhelpful break in the middle to paint those 9 warrior goblins on the first episode of our Battle Streams in Middle-earth series. So that's how I'm psychologically dealing with it. It's like, yes, I didn't quite get these done in time, but that's because I painted another 9 models in the middle of that block. But all in all, I'm pretty happy. 6 heroes and 13 warriors in a few weeks is good by my standards. So it's good to get those warriors done, get all 36 out of the box done, and have that big tick. I'm not gonna lie, the 6 heroes are still hanging over my head a bit. I'm a bit annoyed about that now, and I want to be starting on other projects rather than finishing them. But I'm going to learn from previous mistakes, and I am going to finish them. So yeah, that will be my next hobby vlog. So this is 53. So hobby vlog 54 will be detailing how I get those heroes finished. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed this. It's been fun getting them done. I'm happy with how they look, and hopefully the kind of step-by-step nature of the guide will help you if you like the colour scheme and want to replicate it in yours. I'm going to throw up some pictures of the finished models at the end, and I'm also going to throw up some sort of screenshots of the paint scheme, kind of shot by shot, so you can actually see how it works and gets developed for your record. It'll be a bit easier to scan. If I ever need to come back and do more Morannons, it's going to be a lot easier to scan back to the end of this video and watch that slide by slide than it is kind of trying to cut through all my waffle and drivel. But there we go. That is my next hobby vlog. It's obviously been a bit of a gap since the last one. Hobby vlog 52 was published on January the 15th. So it's been, that's not too bad actually, given that this will go, it's probably been about 2.5, 3 weeks since that's gone up, but I did say there was going to be a gap. And in between there, we've also had like the stream, and we've had Battle Streams in Middle-earth, that's the stream, isn't it? The stream and the King of the Dead vlog, and a video of me and Tom, I believe, which you would have seen on Saturday, I think. So yeah, hopefully there's still a fair bit of content coming, and you'll be pleased to know there is a fair bit more coming. We've definitely got a similar level of content coming out for you over the course of February, including the long-awaited return of our at least one battle report. So it is coming. Classic shaky cam battle report, but you will be getting a battle report on the GBHL before too long. Cool. I'm going to crack on with my Morannon heroes. I look forward to seeing you in the comments and seeing you in the next vlog. Until then, don't forget to comment, like, share, and subscribe. Follow us like us on Facebook. Support your Hobbit host by clicking on the links below. Support your Hobbit hobby, and happy strategy battle gaming.